Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Friday's edition of the dceu Daily. Normally I would greet you with a smile, but I can't smile any longer about my passion that is DC and the DC Extended Universe. It is so tough being a DC fan. It's been tough being a DC fan for such a long time. Since Man of Steel, it's been a PR nightmare, but it's hit the fans so badly. There's so much toxicity coming from the fandom. DC Twitter is just a horrible place to be right now. I have half a dozen fans sending me DMs a day telling me they're leaving the platform because of the toxicity. They feel they can't speak from their hearts because they're going to be attacked. And because of all the negativity coming directly from filmmakers as well. The announcement of Zack Snyder's Justice League was a glorious occasion. It should have settled everything, but it didn't. It made things worse. I don't know where we are anymore. I don't know which way to turn anymore. I'm feeling so low. DC is something that used to make me so happy. Yes, we've had our experiences of disappointment with DC TV shows and DC movies like Superman Returns, Batman and Robin and things like that, and Superman Lives never being made. But all fans have disappointments. Sports fans, movie fans, TV fans. Ask all of them. You know, the disappointments are fine. But what's going on within the DC Extended Universe right now isn't just depressing and toxic. It's an utter mess. We have Patty Jenkins doing interviews, exposing things from the film sets. And I will get to her because she's backtracking on what she's allegedly said. Then we've got Ray Fisher saying anything he wants to say. And let me give you an example. Warner Brothers extends Walter Hamada as president of DC Films. Now we know last week Ray Fisher came onto Twitter and called Walter Hamada a dangerous individual. This is what you expect DC fans to do with this, Ray. What do you want from us? We just want to enjoy our movies and talk about what's to come. So let's read this article from Deadline. Warner has re-upped Walter Hamada as president of DC Films. He will continue to oversee the DC film slate along with features produced for HBO Max streaming platform. Terms of the new deal were not disclosed, but Hamada's new contract runs through 2023. Walter is not only passionate about story and the DC canon, he's also a thoughtful and incredibly talented executive. He's fully committed to investing the time and care necessary for movie making on this scale, said Toby Emmerich, chairman of Warner Brothers Pictures Group. With Walter overseeing our DC movies for theatrical exhibition and on HBO Max, we are excited for him and his team to bring more of these stories to life, working with new and established talent to broaden the reach and diversity of the DC cinematic universe. Hamada currently oversees WBPG's slate of films based on DC superheroes and supervillains, as well as the titles based on other characters and stories also licensed from DC, including its Vertigo and Mad magazine imprints. He and the DC-based film team also draw upon resources from across both Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line Cinema. Going forward, this group will increase its production level to including producing several feature-length productions specifically for HBO Max platform each year, while continuing to produce a roster of theatrical releases through the Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line labels. In 2019, Hamada oversaw production of New Line's Shazam and Warner Brothers Pictures' blockbuster Joker, which earned almost $1.1 billion at the global box office and was nominated for 11 Oscars, winning Best Actor for Joaquin Phoenix and for Hilda, the lady who did the music, can't pronounce her surname. Original score. In February 2020, DC-based films released Birds of Prey, the division's most recently released Wonder Woman 1984, which was received with mixed reviews but played a huge part in launching the WB and HBO Max day and date slate. The slate of upcoming DC films includes Suicide Squad in theatres worldwide and on HBO Max in the US this summer and in 2022, and beyond the Batman, Aquaman 2, The Flash, Black Adam, Shazam. Let's start again. Worldwide and on HBO Max in the US this summer and in 2022, and beyond the Batman, Aquaman 2, The Flash, Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Batgirl, Static Shock, and the recently announced Wonder Woman 3. Walter is an incredibly talented, well-respected executive, known by his colleagues and our filmmakers as a great collaborator, said Ann Sarnoff, Chair and CEO of Warner Media Studios and Networks Group. I'm excited about where he's taking DC Films and look forward to working with him and the rest of the team to build out the DC multiverse. So that's Ann Sarnoff talking about the DC multiverse strategy. That's exciting. That's positive. That should put a smile on my face. But as soon as I go on Twitter, you know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, Walter Hamada is public's enemy number one to a lot of the fans of the DC Snyderverse. I'm a fan as well, but I can see through Ray Fisher's bullshit. This is the problem. The re-up comes as Hamada's name came up during an investigation by Warner Brothers into conduct on its original Justice League after allegations from the film's co-star Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, that director Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive and unprofessional and completely unacceptable. Hamada was not in charge of DC feature production and release of Justice League. He was a New Line executive at the time, but has been looped into the matter as acting president. Warner Brothers said last month that an investigation into the accusations had been concluded and remedial action has been taken. Fisher later called out Hamada over the probe and said he would no longer work with the DC film boss. Hamada was New Line's EVP production and was one of the key executives in charge of the label's horror success, It and the Conjuring franchises. He was named president of DC Films in January 2018. Variety was first to report that Hamada news today. So this is official, coming from Ann Sarnoff. So he has been upped. His contract has been extended. Now, this is what Mr. Ray Fisher had to say about this. So we are going to find that in a minute. So this is what Ray had to say. It's weird how these reactionary announcements from WB Pictures always forget to mention that Walter Hamada was working directly with Jeff Johns, Toby Emmerich on Shazam during Justice League reshoots. More soon. Ray, I don't care. I don't care if he was involved. Now you're trying to loop him in with Justice League. This is simply outrageous. I don't care. You are affecting my mental health and other people's mental health. We just want to enjoy our DC content. What's the matter with you, Ray? We got the Snyder Cut. I supported you when you first came out and said, in fact, you were forced to back Joss Whedon at Comic-Con. I backed you. I was excited for you and the rest of the cast and Zack to get your justice. But from the moment you exposed private conversations between yourself and Walter Hamada, I was not on your team anymore, Ray. You crossed the line. And then you convinced one of the Faruqi brothers, while he had his dream job at Forbes, to do an interview with you, and he lost his job. He lost his job, Ray, because of you. But Shiraz Faruqi doesn't blame you. Let me be clear. This is a young man who hero worshipped you, and you manipulated him, and he lost his job. And you made some noise about talking to Forbes. What happened with that, Ray? Has he got his job back yet? No. Accountability over entertainment. But who are you accountable to, Ray? So I'm talking directly now to everyone involved. Zack Snyder, Jason Kilar, Patty Jenkins, all of you. This has to stop. What I demand right now, guys and girls, and everybody else, is that Ray Fisher and Walter Hamada sit down in a room. I want to see a picture of Ray Fisher, Walter Hamada, Jeff Johns, and Zack Snyder with their arms round each other, telling us you have sorted this out. I don't care if it takes days, years, months. You need to sort this out. This should not be in the public forum. It's killing me. It's killing my mental health. I've got a headache just thinking about this, because it could be just a big joke to you people within the company, but we live, eat and breathe this. Now, I'm sure you have your passions that you live, eat and breathe. And if the people involved with your passions were doing what was being done to us, being manipulated and played on a public level, day after day, minute after minute, hour after hour, you would feel like I would. And the rest of the fans, we are fed up. We are looking forward to a 4-hour Justice League movie. This is something we dreamed of as children, and we're going to get it. We're going to get it. Why? Why can't you let us enjoy this? A multiverse strategy has been announced. We're getting a Flashpoint movie, and let's be absolutely clear for those of you who don't want Walter Hamada in the job. Contract extension or no contract extension, Flashpoint will make or break Walter Hamada. If it's successful, then he's there. He's there for the long term. If it's a disaster, he's gone anyway. So why don't you just wait and see? A multiverse strategy is exactly what this franchise needs, a place for all different types of stories and creatives. So why the toxicity? Again, Ray Fisher, you got your investigation. We're getting the Snyder Cut. Why are you going to war with Walter Hamada on a public level? As I say there, trying to hint and insinuate that in fact Walter Hamada also was involved with Justice League. I don't know. I wasn't there, and I'm done with Justice League. When Zack Snyder's Justice League was announced, I snapped that film. I have no love for that film, even though I use it as a placeholder when I re-watch the films on my watch list. It's done, Ray. Stop it. Stop it. You are hurting people. You are hurting the fans. You are manipulating fans. It's so utterly toxic. And the toxicity within the DC Extended Universe doesn't just stop at Ray Fisher. And I'll talk more about Patty Jenkins very shortly. Right, we carry on. This is from Patty Jenkins while I was asleep last night. I felt extremely supported in my vision on both films by WB Pictures and Zack Snyder. All the producers and everyone on board, our eventual team. Just was a long road to get to make it. Let's chill the dramatic headlines like war. She goes on, versions of this article seems to be everywhere and not true. There was no war with Warner Brothers over Wonder Woman. I'm talking about 10 years of discussions with 10 different execs through them. And whole beard thing was about other projects at other studios. Right. That's great, Patty. Thank you for doing that. That's great. You're trying to corroborate what you said, and you're trying to say it's all being taken out of context. Thank you, and I apologise for my part of being reactionary towards you. But the truth is, Patty, you are as much to blame for this toxicity and this depression haunting me and other DC fans, because you've been very vocal about the third act of Wonder Woman 2017 and how they wanted to cut out the Themyscirus scene or the mouse sequence in Wonder Woman 1984. We shouldn't have to listen to this. You're having a war publicly, and then you're having to kind of come out because you've obviously been told off by the studio, and you want to make that third Wonder Woman film, and this is hurting your future now. Do you know how embarrassing this is, Patty? And Ray and everybody else, and I'll bring Zach into this. You know, I read your article, Patty, and you spoke about women not wanting to see severed heads. Then Zack Snyder goes on a YouTube video run by the fandom, right, and shows us a picture of Wonder Woman, right, standing next to some Indian soldiers, some Sikh soldiers with severed heads. What are we supposed to make of that? It seems like Zack is reacting to what you said. So Zack's not innocent here either, and I love that guy to bits. You are all creating a depressing atmosphere around being a DC fan. And it has to stop. I'm so fed up of it. Ray Fisher, Patty Jenkins, Zack Snyder. Can't we all just be friends? And if you hate each other behind the scenes, it's fine. Too many things have come out into the public arena. And it should never have happened. I go to the MCU and I go to Marvel, right? And we say a lot about that franchise, but it's really successful. Can you imagine someone working within that platform, slaughtering Kevin Feige? I've said this before. What's going on is you're embarrassing the good name of DC. You are embarrassing the good names of Detective Comics that was started many years ago. This is simply not good enough. So Walter Hamada, his contract has been upped. That's it. That's it. It's done. And Sarnoff has come out and said it. Now, if this is, Ray, a reactionary situation, it doesn't really matter. And you can keep on coming up with information, but of course you offer very, very little evidence. You never, ever have any evidence, but your words do enough damage. I like you, Ray Fisher. I saw you in Justice League, and despite the shit show that movie is, your performance was excellent. And all we ever wanted to do was see more of you. You wanted your investigation. You got it. I don't understand your end game. You are destroying the good name of Warner Brothers, Warner Media and AT&T. You are destroying the good name of DC. And what the hell for? Tell me, Ray. Because this movie franchise and this comics company means a lot to me. It may not mean a great deal to you. So I'm telling you now, and the fans are telling you now, by the way. I don't speak for the fans, but fans speak to me. We want this done. We have had enough. Enough. Quite simply. We don't want this anymore. We don't want this war. And some fans who thrive on this, good luck to you. If you want to boycott Flashpoint and the Hamada DC universe, good luck to you. Go for it. Take a chunk. Do it. You won't destroy anything. There's too many hardcore, real DC fans that are excited for the multiverse strategy, because I know and they know it gives everyone a place in this live action universe, so there can be so many visions and so many stories being told. We are fed up of the infighting. It has to stop. It's embarrassing. Other studios don't do this. The MCU doesn't do this. I'm sure there is infighting, but it's all kept under wraps, like it should be. Look, listen, I'm a very, very unsuccessful writer, actor and director, trying to develop the first English-speaking dramas here on Cypriot TV. In fact, last night I quickly jotted down a lockdown drama, which I'll tell you at the end of this video, just to calm us down and give us some positivity. But people are fed up. All we want to do is look forward to the future slate. Warner Media broke the release window and we had to listen to people like Christopher Nolan burn them publicly. We are fed up of it all. We are fed up of these public spats, and it's all about manipulating the audience and the public and the consumer to your side of thinking. And we are done with it. This public infighting. I was reading a fan on Twitter saying, oh, when you hear what Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder went through, Warner Brothers is just a terrible company. What Zack Snyder went through was via the old regime. Get your facts right. Warner Media have come in, right, and they've initiated a multiverse strategy to try and fix this. They have green-lit Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? You want more Zack Snyder? Then watch the hell out of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And do me a favour and shut up. I simply do not blame fans who are leaving Twitter. And why should they have to leave Twitter? It has to stop. The head of DC Films is Walter Hamada. He needs to speak publicly. He needs to speak publicly as well. But Ray and Walter need to sort this shit out, because we shouldn't have to deal with this. Now, it's pretty clear that Ray Fisher has been sacked for what he said and exposed publicly about Walter Hamada. And by the way, I think it's right that he's been removed. Now, yesterday I read you a tweet out, which was about Grace Randolph saying that he's being replaced, and her opinions were nonsense, but that's what she said. And what's his name? I forgot his name now. Anyway, Andy Muschietti, the Flashpoint director, is looking to recast Cyborg. It has to be done because it's clear. Unless they do what I'm suggesting and Ray Fisher and Walter Hamada have cleared the air talks, he can't come back. What I do feel is going to happen, that if Zack does do any future DC, that Ray can work with him, and I'm sure there's something that could be worked out there. But in terms of the central DC universe live action franchise, Ray has no position. He's gone. He was going to be in Flashpoint, now he won't be. It's as simple as that. There's an etiquette in this industry. Even someone, an unsuccessful person, member of this entertainment industry like me, understands there's certain things you don't talk about that happen within the industry, that happen on a set, that happen in the boardroom, that happen in Zoom meetings, things like that. There's certain things you just don't talk about. You want to excite fans, not weigh them down by drama. And this is what's going on now within DC. No one is on the same page, and it's ridiculous. And one of Walter Hamada's jobs now has to be to get everyone on the same page. Keep your mouth shut on Twitter. Keep it positive. Obviously, Zack's going around doing, YouTube videos with Snyderverse fans, which is great. But I'm mystified. The other day when I showed you that picture of the severed heads and Wonder Woman standing there with the Sikh soldiers, I assumed, and I think we all assumed, it was kind of a reply, a riposte from what Patty said in that article, which she's trying to take a step back from now. So why did Zack Snyder show that picture? After she was in an interview talking about severed heads. Do you get what I'm saying? It's all utterly toxic. Utterly toxic. And I and the rest of the fans want it to stop. We don't need to know what's going on behind the scenes, but we do need to see a united front. I know many, many DC directors who love Walter Hamada. He's a very popular guy because he works with the filmmakers, which is all a filmmaker coming from a director, right? An unsuccessful one, small time, that if you can get a good relationship with your boss, it's better. If there's a divide, so what you've got to be, in this game, you've got to be someone calm, cool and collective. Not when you're actually working, because when you're directing something, tempers get frayed. It's very difficult. Everyone wants to get the job done and do produce the best piece of content they can. But what's going on publicly, especially on Twitter, with DC and the DC Extended Universe right now? So Warner Brothers and Warner Media have to get a handle on Ray Fisher. They need to talk to him. Now, obviously, if he's been sacked, he can say whatever he wants. But there is a way to deal with all of this if Ray just comes in and talks to the company. Now, maybe Ray's agenda isn't for peace. Maybe Ray just wants to keep on going. Maybe Ray's enjoying this and it will never end. Well, if that's the fact, and if that's true, then what we need to do is divorce ourselves from Ray. Let him ramble on like a lunatic on his own, right? Sounds harsh, but we've had enough. We've had enough, Ray. It's done, mate. It's over. You lost your job, and I know you don't care if you lose your job, or you claim you don't care, but that's good. Go back and sell, seashells or cockles or beef or whatever you used to do. I don't care. I literally don't care. But leave my franchise and my DC Extended Universe alone. I was watching Justice League the other day. Enjoyed your performance. But it was hard to look at you. It was. Because of everything you're doing and saying. And I know what's going to happen when this video posts. I'm going to get loads of unsubs. Doesn't matter. This has to be said. I've also tagged Jason Keelan on a Twitter post begging him to deal with this situation, because it's affecting DC fans' mental health now. And this is really serious. As I say, It may be a joke that adults eat and breathe DC, but we do. And I'm sure, as I said on the top of the show, you are passionate yourselves on things and would appreciate not having the toxicity about what you love thrown in your face all the time on Twitter. So it's up to the studio, it's up to Walter Hamada to get a handle on this. At least try and talk to Ray Fisher, get him in the office, and he can talk about his grievances, and maybe there can be some peace here. Because I am fed up of listening to it. I'm very tempted in blocking Ray Fisher, and it's difficult because I need at the moment to know what he says so I can echo it back to you guys and girls and everybody else. But listen, as I said on the top of the show, it is absolutely so hard to be a DC fan. There's too many factions. The Snyderverse fandom, the hardcore DC fandom, and no one's ever going to back down from their positions. Some people love Snyder. Some people hate Snyder. But we need to get past this now. We need to be positive because in the DC live action universe, something really ambitious is being attempted. And it's something to look forward to. This year we got Zack Snyder's Justice League, Peacemaker and James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Next year we got 6 or 7 films. Not only on HBO Max but going into theatres for DC. And at the end of 2022 we get Flashpoint. The film that resets everything and gives everyone a playpen to play in. So it's very exciting. Any fandom would be excited about this, but not us. Oh no, not us. We're infighting and we're in our different factions and groups. And I'm sick of it. I so come off Twitter when I go to bed at night depressed with a headache because I take it all in. We all do. We take it all in. And it's bad enough that you've got different factions of different fandoms within one franchise. But when you've got Patty Jenkins, Ray Fisher, and Zack Snyder spewing stuff as well and having a war publicly. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder are on the same side. Well, act like it then. Act like it. I like you people. I really do. I'm proud that you're involved with something that I love. But this cannot continue. And if you don't want to do it for yourselves, do it for us, the people who support you. The release of Wonder Woman 84 should have been something to celebrate. And it was. No, it wasn't the film we saw in 2017, but the film had many, many positive moments. But again, different factions going for the movie because they have an agenda, because they want the Snyderverse to reign supreme. And people like me are sitting there not knowing which way to turn. We can't take a side because we love it all. We want to embrace it all. Yes, I did a balanced review of Wonder Woman 1984 and I told you about what I loved about it and what I didn't like about it. That's what a review's about. But I wasn't negative. But ultimately, when you respond to negativity like I have to on the DCEU Daily, in the end you do take a position and you become toxic yourself because you've been poisoned with the toxicity from the people who make this stuff and run this stuff and support this stuff. Everyone's as bad as each other. And I'm not taking the high ground. I'm not saying I'm not to blame. We all are. We're all sucked in by negativity and toxicity. And it has to stop. It has to stop because it's gone too far. It's affecting me mentally. And if you're honest, it's affecting you. You want Snyder to have more? Just look forward to what you're going to get, what we're going to get. There's a really exciting future to come here. And it's pretty clear that Walter Hamada, unless Flashpoint is a disaster, is here for the foreseeable future. Don't get involved. Don't get involved in other people's agendas. And Patty, Zach, Ray, do better and be better. Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe. Follow me and tag me over on Twitter @MoviesTVMad. Now let's have some DC positivity. I haven't done any of Scott Edwards' suggestions for a while, so he's got some questions. He's suggested He suggested an article here from Screen Rant, so I'm going to read that out to you first. Why Batwoman suits the Arrowverse better than Batman. While the Arrowverse has been mysterious about its version of Batman, Batwoman is far more suited for the franchise than the Dark Knight. Absolute nonsense. While the Arrowverse has its Batman, mystery Batwoman is more suited for... say that again. While the Arrowverse has its Batman mystery, Batwoman is more suited for the franchise than the Dark Knight. When it comes to DC Comics, Caped Crusader, and his role in the CW's DC TV universe, it has always been a tricky situation given that Batman is one of the biggest franchises in all of fiction. Warner Bros. Has always been very protective of letting him stand outside the big screen in live action. After the Dark Knight trilogy made more than $2 billion at the worldwide box office, it became even more difficult to see Bruce Wayne on the small screen unless it was animation. It wasn't difficult. The old regime of Warner Bros. Were wrong. We deserve to see Batman on the big and small screen. Same with Superman. And this mentality is pathetic. Despite having made some appearances on TV, it has always been at a cost. Gotham showed Bruce before he became Batman, as fans got to see his teen years and how he discovered his destiny. Titans Season 1 had an endless amount of name drops of Bruce before Ian Glenn was cast at the universe's version of him. Even though he's still active as a crime fighter, Glenn's Bruce has still not suited up once as Batman. This all comes down to the grey area that Warner Bros. Allows DC TV to walk in when it comes to using Bruce Wayne, but not Batman. Again, I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. In the Arrowverse, Batwoman has become the representing Bat family members, starting with Ruby Rose's Kate Kane, who will soon be replaced by Javicia Leslie's Ryan Wilder version of Batwoman. While Bruce Batman definitely exists in the franchise, the Arrowverse hasn't really been able to get to the bottom of his character. But for the CW, it's actually a good thing. No, it's not. Batwoman gets to represent this aspect of the DC universe rather than Bruce. As Javicia Leslie brings in new blood to Batwoman and the Bat family this year, this is why the heroine suits the Arrowverse better than Batman. Read a fucking comic. Batwoman and Batman cross over sometimes. They're actually in the same universe. But you're making it a competition. What's better suited for Arrowverse and Batman isn't. Of course Batman is tailor-made for Arrowverse. It's part of DC live action. They should be standing there together. They should be integrating the Bat family. You are talking nonsense. Arrow, more or less from its inception, pretty much already did Batman before Batwoman premiered in 2019 when the CW was doing Green Arrow. Green Arrow isn't Batman, even though they tried to make him the same kind of character because he kind of is. They didn't do Batman. They did Green Arrow. The character for a second time following the conclusion of Smallville. It was done in a very different way from the source material. Greg Berlanti and other creators reimagined an Oliver Queen that was inspired by Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy. And in terms of the first season, and even the second season, that's true. But then they watered down that concept, and that's why I had to stop watching after the fifth season. So where are we? But yeah, and that was inspired by Christopher Nolan. The Dark Knight's trilogy. Even series lead Stephen Amell has been on record that the film series was a heavy influence on Arrow, especially in the first season. Exactly. One of the core reasons Amell's Green Arrow was described as the CW's version of Batman was because of how gritty and gruesome his take on the DC Archer was. But he's not Batman. Your point is mute. Oliver in the comics definitely has some darkness, but nowhere near as much as Arrow's version did. While they are familiar as superheroes, Oliver is far more light-hearted and optimistic than Bruce. In Arrow's defense, the writers did pull a lot from the Green Arrow mythology. Can I just say something? There's no defense. There's no need for the defense. The Arrow we saw in the first two seasons was beautiful. He was Green Arrow, not Batman. That can't be denied, but a lot of their interpretations of various characters and plots had Dark Knight vibe to it, being depicted as grounded and realistic as possible, despite Bruce and Batman existing in the Arrowverse. Arrow essentially already did a version of Batman. No, they didn't. Just with the titular hero running around with a bow and arrow. Yes, it's similar to what Batman is, but it doesn't mean we can't have a damn Batman in Arrowverse, you bums. While Batman is one of the most popular fictional characters, there is no denying the Dark Knight has had more than enough screen time between movies and TV. You absolute disgrace, you bum. In both animation and live action, even in DC Comics, Batman is a very dominating figure with multiple comic series running at the same time. Batman has garnered worldwide following for decades and decades, hence why there's always a lot of financial gain with the character in media. Excuse me. Nevertheless, Batman has oversaturated current pop culture, especially on screen, of any DC character to have made the jump from comics to screen. Batman has by far had the most TV shows, movies, video games, and more. So what? So what? It didn't take long after Nolan's Batman trilogy for Warner Bros. To quickly introduce a new iteration through Ben Affleck's DCEU version of Batman. Barely 3 years later, and another Batman franchise is already in the works with the Batman, starring Robert Pattinson. Even though there is a lot of richness from the Batman universe, the legacy isn't only driven by Bruce. The entire Bat family has helped that side of the DC realm to grow. Yes, that's why there should be a Batman in Arrowverse, so we can see the Arrowverse properly grow, you bum. Even though the Arrowverse hasn't solved their Bruce mystery, the character isn't exactly lacking a platform right now. It's time for other members of the Bat fam to get their time to shine. You absolute pricks. You absolute bums. I tell you what, while Ruby Rose's time as Batwoman was short-lived, it's still key to remember the female Crusader is still relatively fresh to the mainstream audiences. Kate Kane's Batwoman was reimagined and reintroduced in 2006 through DC's The New 52, being depicted as Bruce Wayne's cousin and also a crime fighter. Not only has Batwoman's role grown over the years, but the character has become one of the most beloved LGBTQ plus characters in the superhero genre. Despite that, Batwoman as she is now has only existed for less than 2 decades. That's why it was a big deal when the CW revealed that they were bringing her from page to screen, as this marked her live-action debut. Despite Rose's character being wrapped up in Batwoman Season 2, the mantle will live on when Ryan Wilder takes up the cowl. While Ryan does exist in DC Comics canon as a few months ago, she has yet to become a Bat family aside from knowing Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl. Whether it's Kate or Ryan in the Kate and cowl, Batwoman is still fresh for the majority of the audience members who follow her. That's why it was a big move for the Arrowverse to bring her into the franchise. Unlike Batman, who has been depicted so many times, he overshadows the rest. He doesn't have to overshadow anyone if done properly. You bum. We know where you're going with this. We understand. He's either a woman or an SJW. You just know it. There's still so much that we could... there is still so much that can and will be done with Batwoman, particularly with Ryan, as she's a fresh face to the DC world. It is also not often a female member of the Bat family gets to be the main focus in live action, whether it be TV or film. The Arrowverse needs to solve the current Batman mystery that exists so that they can finally let go of the character, you absolute arsewipe. While it would certainly be cool to see Batman meet the CW's Justice League, the Arrowverse doesn't really need Bruce. If the Bat legacy is going to be a key element of Arrowverse, a show like Batwoman is the best fit. Right, let's see who wrote this. Right, by Andy, whose name I can't spell. What an absolute hit piece. What an absolute fucking disgrace. So there's no place for Batman in Arrowverse, but there's a place for the female, the Batwoman, because she's female, right? So if Batman was, in fact, if there was no Batman, but let's just say Batman hadn't been in pop culture that much, and Batwoman was the main character all these years, would you be saying the same, that Batman fits the mould of Arrowverse more than Batwoman? No, you wouldn't. You absolute bum. Your agenda is so blatant to see, you don't even hide it. A horrible, horrible article. I'm sorry, Scott, but that really triggered me. So Scott Edwards goes on, at Movies TV Mad, also some questions. Do you think Black Adam's main story will be set in modern day? And will we see a tease of him going up against Shazam? I'd be surprised if we see any Shazam in Black Adam, but you never know. Now, in terms of when it's going to be set, what date it's going to be set, I think it's going to start in the past, and we're going to probably see him by the end of the film in the modern era, because, of course, in Shazam 3, which is so far away, Black Adam and Shazam will finally fight. Our Movies TV Mad also looks like Superman and Lois will be the first of the 5 shows Diggle appears on totally makes sense. He and his family moved to Metropolis at the end of Arrow. I can't wait to see him interact with Clark and Lois. Neither can I. And I think that's it from Scott Edwards. So thank you very much, Scott. I hope you enjoyed me reading out your questions and that horrible article. Did you know it was going to trigger me? Did you know it was going to make me burst the blood vessel? Doesn't matter. Thank you anyway. So we're 40 minutes in now, and it started off me talking about the negativity. So I just want to tell you what kind of place I come from as a storyteller and a director and an actor. And so I'm going to tell you a story I jotted down after I heard HBO Max were having a lockdown drama. Now, I believe lockdown stories are the biggest, most fucking laziest, unimaginative way of telling stories right now. So we're in lockdown, and you want us to see lockdown dramas, you absolute bums. And this is where we are in the industry. So anyway, instead of trying to be realistic, I'm going to try and tell you a fantasy lockdown story. Are you ready? Let's imagine it's me. I'm sitting here on my own. I'm Mick. That's my name. So Mick's been locked down for 3 months now. The COVID in the world is everywhere. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. Vaccines and upon vaccines are not long lasting. They last for 3 months, then they're done. The medical associations and profession can't think of an answer. Anyway, for the past 3 months, Mick has been locked down. And all he can hear is this weird noise coming from under the floor. All the time. That's all he can hear. Day and night. He's holding his ears. He can't handle it anymore. He tries to put things loud. He tries to muffle it. So after months and months and months, he's going insane. He's not bathing. He's not cleaning his teeth. He's not having a shave. He's had enough. He gets his old pickaxe and he starts bashing the shit out of the floor. For weeks and weeks and weeks, he literally digs a tunnel underground. So he gets a flashlight and he goes under the floor to check out what's going on. He can still hear the noise. And suddenly, this blinding pink and purple lights are right in his eyes. He can't see anything, but he can hear people talking. He can hear them speaking English and Dutch and French and Greek. Who are these people? As the lights dim, he can see the people, and the people can see him. To be continued. I want to know what you thought of that little shitty story I just told. I just wanted to finish off today's DCEU Daily with some positivity. And I think if you're going to tell a lockdown story, make it fantastical. Make someone discover something outside of his own universe and his own thought process, or her, or whoever, right? Anyway, comment down below, like, share and subscribe. Please add and tag me on Twitter @MoviesTVMad. And my message stands. We need more DC positivity. And these power games and struggle from directors and producers and everyone at Warner Brothers and Warner Media has to stop. I want you all to be better. See you again tomorrow.